Welcome to the Strive for Good Life podcast, where freedom and abundance meet entrepreneurship. We uncover the stories, strategies, and secrets of business owners who've built life on their terms. Ready to create your own success? Let's dive in.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Strive for Good Life podcast. My name is Nino Pingera, and I'm here with Chris M. Walker, who is the founder and CEO of Legit.com. I'm going to let him explain what that platform is all about later, but welcome to the show, Chris.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited to just talk with you, get into the stuff that you've been up to, all of your experiences. I really enjoyed our last conversation, so I think this is going to be a fun one. I like to always start at the beginning of someone's journey with entrepreneurship. So let's jump into that. Like, how did you get started, and what led you to eventually end up with Legit?
I lost the window. Give me just a second here.
Yeah, no problem.
I was trying to move it over to my teleprompter and it vanished. All right, well, I'll just have to fake it. I can't see you, so give me a sec.
Okay, yeah, no problem. We can cut this out too.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I don't know what happened. All right, sorry.
That's okay, no problem.
I'm going to have to jump off. I'll be right back on.
Okay.
All right, sorry about that.
No problem.
It was like the teleprompter so I could look right at it, but it's not working for some reason. But anyway.
Glad to have you back.
Yeah, sorry. Where were we?
Okay, so really I was asking, where you got your start and just getting into your background, those early influences in your entrepreneurial journey and what led you to eventually, starting Legit.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like I said, my name is Chris M. Walker. And the reason I have the M there is because there was a one-hit wonder in the 90s named Chris Walker. So when I started doing SEO for my own brand name, I couldn't outrank him. So I added the M. So that's why that's there. I always tell that story because, I've always been told to start with a joke. So that's why I do that. So anyway, so we'll start around 2013. I was working in IT support, doing tech support for a real estate development company, basically doing the password resets, and I got locked out and that kind of low level stuff that you call and get. And I hated that. I wasn't cut out for that. And I also had a bunch of debt. So I started looking for ways to make money for myself, like just to get out of credit card debt. And I stumbled on a blog post about affiliate marketing. So I started doing that for a while and I was having some success making some side money. But apparently what I was doing was called SEO, and I didn't know that at the time. And a Google algorithm update came along and ruined everything I was doing because I was apparently doing it the wrong way. So that was disappointing, but I had kind of gotten the itch at that point. So I bought another course on SEO and learned how to do it for clients, like doing it for like local businesses. When I say local, I don't mean local to me, local to wherever they are. And I was doing well with that, not well enough to quit the job yet, but I'd gotten myself out of debt. I was actually taking client calls at my job, like going to the bathroom to like take the calls because I didn't want to get fired. And then on a whim, somebody I knew started a freelancer marketplace, kind of a middleman where you list your services, people buy it, and that sort of thing. And I just on a whim, I listed an SEO service I was doing. SEO stands for search engine optimization, for those that don't know, on there. And all of a sudden I got a sale. I remember I was at the gym one day and I got a PayPal notification and I'm like, what the heck is this? And I realized it was a sale from there. And that kind of took off for me. I got another sale, and then an influencer endorsed my services. So I started getting a bunch of sales. And between that and the client work I was doing and a few other odds and ends, it was enough to finally quit my job in 2016. Well, come late 2017, that marketplace I was using started having all sorts of problems. It was getting hacked. It was crashing. So I started selling my services through my own agency site because I still needed that money. And I had made friends with some of the other freelancers on that site, and they saw that I was making money through my own site, and they were like, well, can we sell through your site too? Because I had built up an audience from my customer list, which is important for marketing. And I was like, well, maybe I'm onto something here. So I partnered with a customer from that freelance marketplace who was a web developer, and we built Legit, which was going to be a marketplace similar to that one, and was just going to be like an extra product in my SEO business. But within a month, with all the pent up demand and the reputation I had, it was like my number one revenue source after just a month, and that was in 2018. And since then, we've kind of grown it to something entirely different, into a platform just specifically for businesses. And we've built in tools and software and training and stuff to help them figure out what they need so they can grow and scale, and then just outsource pieces of it to freelancers. And that kind of is where we are now. And that was, 10 years in 3 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, it sounds like you just kind of stumbled upon the right pieces of success, almost like,
Mhm.
like it just came together for you in some miraculous way. But I know that it's never that simple, and I know that there are challenges and things along the way. So, maybe speak to that a little bit. Was it just pure luck? Was it, just the universe aligning, or what do you
Uh,
attribute the
it's,
success
a- it's,
to?
a- it's a little bit of both. Like, timing is really important to success. So, and any like successful entrepreneur that tells you that they didn't get lucky at all is lying, or else they just aren't very aware. They have a higher of opinion of themselves than they deserve. Because being in the right place at the right time definitely helped for me, and but you have to put yourself to be in the right place at the right time. Like, what's the expression? The harder I work, the luckier I get, something like that. I'm not really good with the cliches, but I think that's the expression. And that helped a lot, being in the right place, and taking advantage of the opportunities that happen. So it's a combination. I mean, I've worked really hard, and I've, made difficult decisions or taken risks, but I've also happened to be in the right place at the right time more than once. So it's a combination of both. There's a good book on this. It's Malcolm Gladwell. It's Outliers, it's called, and it talks about
Yeah.
how like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, yeah, they worked hard and they had the skill, but they also happened to be born at the right time in the right place to have access to the right things to give them the opportunity to create the things that they did. So it's a combination.
Yeah, it never is just as straightforward as one or the other, right? But obviously, like, the consistent, or the singular factor in all these cases is there is a lot of hard work that goes into it.
Oh yeah.
Um, and so maybe let's speak to, some of the hard things that you faced as you were trying to figure things out, and ended up eventually building Legit.
Yeah, so the hardest one was deciding to do it in the first place. That was the hardest decision, because I didn't know that I didn't have the confidence in myself at the time, but just looking back, I didn't, to take on a project that big. I thought that because it required a lot of development work, which I don't know how to do. But despite having a degree in computer programming, that was money well spent. But that's another story.
Right. Yeah.
But I was like, I don't know how to do any of that. I don't know how to create it. I don't know how to market it. And yeah, I don't know what made me decide to do it, but I saw that there was this need for it. And something pushed me over the edge to say, okay, screw it. Let's try it. Screw it. Let's do it. Another good book. Um, and that was probably the biggest one. And then other big challenges were figuring out how to do it, like how to market a business like that, because it turns out that a freelancer marketplace is really two businesses, because you have to grow the customer base and the freelancer base, and you have to grow them at roughly the same rate. We call it like the chicken and the egg problem, because if you have like too many customers, the freelancers you have get overwhelmed, and then the service drops, and then the whole platform suffers. But if you have too many freelancers, they're complaining that they're not getting any work, so you have to grow more customers, and you have to keep somewhat of an equilibrium, and that's hard because customers are in particular are a lot harder to get than our freelancers. And then there were things like people expecting us to decide what they should buy for them, and that's just something that never occurred to me, because I just always knew what to buy as a customer, or I would figure it out on my own. But a lot of them like would buy the wrong thing and then blame the platform, even though like they bought like just as an analogy, they bought, I don't know, a garden hose to put out a house fire or something like that. It's not a good
Right.
analogy, but you get the idea. And like I didn't anticipate that, but it's something we've had to deal with anyway. Like it's one of those problems where it really shouldn't be our problem to solve, but it is anyway. So we're never going to fully solve it, but so that's why we took the direction we did and added in like software and training and things to help. I don't want to say educate our customers because that sounds diminutive, but help make them make better purchasing decisions, which in turn helps us and it helps the freelancers and it helps the customers too.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I love like what I'm hearing in all this is that, I mean, just every time you faced a problem, I mean, you just figured it out, right? You just went to town, did what you had to solve it. And so, and really, I mean, that's all a business is
Yeah.
solving problems. So if you have that skill, I mean, that's incredibly valuable. But I'm really curious as to, like, are you, and people have different perspectives on this, but are you more kind of the DIY guy, or are you very much the, like, let me hire it out and bring on people as fast as I can? Or how did you go about, because you mentioned a lot of different things, pieces that you had to you figure out, right? Like the marketing or whatever. Um, was it just a one-man team the whole time, or, how did you go about that?
So the answer is yes on both of those things because my instinct for years was to figure it out myself, and just do it. And that doesn't work after a certain point. And I just gave you up to a pretty long journey. And throughout all of that, I did everything myself up until like 2017. I mean, that was the marketing, the fulfillment, the messaging, the boring shit, like pardon my language, the boring stuff, coding your accounting and the stuff that you have to do as a business owner that we all hate. And up until like 2017, I was doing all of that, and that was way too long. So after my first hire, it just revolutionized my business. And now over the years, we've added another person to do this and another person to do that. And it goes against my nature at first, but I'm learning that you only have X amount of hours in the day. And the only way to get more hours is to get more people to work more hours. So I want to keep growing, and that's the only way to do it. So I've gotten to the point where, if with a few exceptions, if it's something that has to be done more than twice, somebody else should be doing it. And you, as the CEO or the leader, need to keep as much repetitive stuff off your plate as you can, so you can spend your time thinking of and driving the business and being not to congratulate ourselves as CEOs, but the visionary or whatever, and making your main thing is making decisions, and the less work you have to do, the better you can make decisions and then let other people execute them. So my nature is to do it myself, but that's just not feasible. No great company was ever done by the CEO doing everything themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I really like that you point out anything that needs to be done twice. That's an interesting way to frame it and think about it. So
And
the
that's an
repetitive stuff.
exaggeration, but that's just like a model to make
Yeah.
decisions.
Yeah. The idea being that anything that's repetitive, obviously, you
Right.
shouldn't waste your time with. So I'm curious, is there like I mean, w- I know you mentioned a certain point for you, but in terms of your perspective or the advice that you'd give to others, like at what point do you think,
Yeah. Um,
people, or is it worth it? I guess is what I'm asking. Like, what point should people make that decision?
yeah. I mean, it's going to be different for everyone, but there's a point where you have to be honest with yourself and say, if I had more time, could I make more money? Or, whatever your goal is. I just assume money is most businesses' goals.
Right.
And you have to accept a few things. You have to accept that no one's going to care as much about your business as you do, for the most part. Like, nobody you hire is going to be as committed as you are. But if you can get somebody that's 75, 80% and offload a bunch of stuff to them, that's if you offload 75%, you get 150% more productivity out of it. So there's no real like one X number of dollars or next number of hours. But when you're getting to the point where where your time is the constraint that's keeping you from growing, that's when you need to decide, get over I'll lose profit if I hire somebody, or they won't do it as good as me, ego stuff. And that's when you need to hire. So it's not really a specific metric you can look at, but that's kind of the
Yeah.
way it works.
No, I love that. I love that. I think that's great advice for anyone listening out there. I want to talk about the marketing piece of this because, I mean, just the thought that, the revenue from Legit in 1 month exceeded all other sources. I mean, that's amazing. So like, how do you build up to that? And I know from our last conversation, community was a big part of that. So,
Yep.
let's get into that. Like, how did you go about marketing and building a community around this?
Yeah. So I didn't realize at first that that's what I was doing, but I when I would deliver my orders on the other freelancer platform, I had created a Facebook group, and I had created it just to own the URLs. Like I tried to get all of my branded stuff. I'm weird about that. And I was like, on a whim, I was like, well, when I deliver my order, let me tell them to join my group. And they did. They started joining, and like so I would just start interacting with people, helping them with stuff. When they had a solution that required a service, I'd be like, here's one that can do it, even if it wasn't mine. I'd start giving them content, and it kind of created a community around it, not knowing I was ever going to have another business. For me, it was just a thing to do, and a little bit of another sales channel. But what I didn't realize at the time that I was doing was creating distribution before I had a product. And what I mean by that is not just creating an audience, but creating a way to get your product to people. And community is a great way to do that. And just what you're doing when you create community is building distribution. Now, I find it bad to look at it in such a cold way. Like a community, there is a positive thing, and it should be more than just a way to make money, but it's that too. And creating distribution before you have a product is probably the best way, at least that I know of, to go about it. Some good examples of this are like Mr. Beast, or I don't, whatever you think of them personally, like Jake and Logan Paul did a great job of just building out their popularity before they ever had anything to sell. And now they go just stick their name on whatever they want. Like they have sports drinks, they have candy bars, that one of them's a wrestler, a boxer, whatever it is. Now that they've built that distribution of people who trust and like them, you can go, you put that on whatever product. So basically you're building a customer list before you even have anything to sell them. So community is a great way to do that. And there's a lot of different ways you can do it. For me, it was Facebook groups, but you could also do it through like an email list, which you should also do regardless, but or like Slack or Discord, and there's stuff like School and things like that. So the platform is, I don't want to say it's irrelevant. It's more just what you prefer, but having a way that people are engaged with you and committed to your brand is really important. The brand piece in particular, when people have like an emotional attachment to your brand, not that you should offer lower quality stuff, but if there's somebody that's just as good at you as far as like the thing that you do, they'll still choose you. A good example of that is last year I went on vacation in Las Vegas, and they have a Coca-Cola store there that's like 3 stories tall, and it was busy as all heck. And it didn't even really sell Coca-Cola. It just sold stuff with the name Coca-Cola on it, t-shirts, novelties, whatever. And it just blew my mind that their brand was that strong that people were like spending hundreds of dollars on stuff that wasn't even their product, just their logo on product. And that's because they built such a strong brand that people emotionally resonated with it. Because in reality, Coca-Cola isn't any different than any other cola. I mean, I know there's a little difference, but they have that brand loyalty. So when you create a community, you do that on a smaller scale, and you have an audience and distribution for whatever it is that you decide to market or to sell to them. So on top of like, we did all the other marketing stuff too, ads and SEO and things like that. But that one piece has been more powerful than anything else.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. Do you have any tips in terms of like how to like really engage and grow a community? Because, I think a lot of people struggle with that piece.
Yeah, I think people look at it too transactionally. Like they go into it with, and I've even seen courses that teach people to do this with communities. They go into it to add content that's designed specifically to like drive people to an offer. And you'll make money from that, but you won't build an actual community. You'll have a group of people versus a community. I know that sounds like semantics, but what you having a community, you have to give and give and give with no intention of direct receiving. So in other words, if I help somebody with something, I don't do it with the idea that they're going to buy something from me, even though that's somewhat the goal. It doesn't have to be that specific interaction, doesn't have to lead to a transaction. You have to understand that those will do that. And that in time, it will come back to you because you've created that bond with people and that trust with people and that authority with people. And incidentally, it will make your other marketing channels either cheaper or better. For example, at Legit, when we look at like our SEO analytics, the number one thing that people search for that brings them to our site is our brand name, which brings down your ad cost, and it helps your other search engine optimization. And the same thing with your paid ads. If you're doing like Facebook ads and people won't necessarily click and buy, but they might go search you out And the brand name, if there's a lot of good will toward the brand, they're more likely to buy when they see your paid ad. So the main tip I would give to answer your question specifically would be to be a person, be helpful, and don't be transactional and expect every interaction to lead to a sale.
Yeah, that advice right there is worth its weight in gold if people understood that more, because it's such a pervasive problem that people are constantly trying to sell, and that human element, that real deep connection with people is being lost. And now, especially with AI, it's like I feel like it's getting even worse, So
Mhm.
the landscape, looking into the future when it comes to business, it's like that's that's what is going to stand out
Yep.
and resonate with people, is just really connecting on a personal level. And so you can't be selling constantly for that. You have to be giving, and really treat it like real relationships. And so uh that's incredibly valuable, like I said. So thank you. I'm so glad that we got into that. Um did you have anything to add? Sorry.
I do. Is that people often ask, what do you think is the number one strategy for 2025 or whatever, however they want to put it. And I always say personal branding for that same reason. And again, that's been commoditized by a lot of like course sellers, but personal branding is like super important. And going back to like the Mr. Beast or Logan Paul examples, they built a huge personal brand first, and now they can deploy that to any business that they want. So start building that as soon as you start your business, because it takes a long time to build and a long time to pay off, but you'll be happy you did.
Yeah, I love that. I want to ask, just, from the last conversation we had, there were a couple other things that you brought up. What else has worked with marketing? I know you mentioned live streams. Maybe talk about that a little bit and how that's impacted things.
Yeah, so it kind of goes back to community, but the kind of the origin story of that was I had done them on and off for a couple of years to varying degrees of success, and it had helped. But then in 2020, when the pandemic started, I was like, well, this sucks. What are we going to do? How do I get people to like not forget about us? So I started a series called which I don't do anymore, but kind of, but I called it at that time. I called it the SEO water cooler, and the reason I called it that was like we didn't have an office anymore, so we had to find a way to go talk around the water cooler. So I would just do a daily live stream to our Facebook groups, which doesn't work as well anymore because of changes in Facebook, but to our Facebook groups and to YouTube, and just talk to people all day, like answer questions or just talk. And I hate to say it, but like because of that and because of the model we were in, the pandemic was really good for our business. So doing those daily live streams was very, very effective. And it just it built one-to-one relationships, but at scale. So like the one-to-one relationships like you and I are having right now are great, but you can only do one of them at a time. With something like that, you can do one to as many people as you can attract at a time. So you're building a community, you're building a personal brand, and you're building direct relationships all at once. Now it is a skill that you have to learn how to be, you have to learn how to never shut up, but also not ramble. So it's kind of a thing that you do have to get better at, but that worked really well during the pandemic. And then like any good marketer, when I figure out something that's working, I stop doing it and go do something else. So I realized that a few months ago. That's sarcasm for anybody that doesn't get my sense of humor.
Yeah, hopefully they got that.
um, a few months ago, I realized that I was like, this worked really well, and I started last month in February, early February. I started doing them every single day again, and it's working again. It's funny how that works, right? It's something, you find something that works and you keep doing it, but it works really well. Now they don't get the instant reach that they used to. Like that's because of the way the platforms used to really push live. They don't so much anymore. In fact, Facebook made it where you can't directly live. You can't use tools to stream to groups. You have to do it directly in the group, and that's killed the reach on Facebook. But it still works pretty well on YouTube.
Great. Yeah, I think that's incredible that you've been able to. I, I I just look at this and there's so many pieces that you were juggling, and for you to have done all of that yourself is just a testament to, I don't know. I mean, your drive, your work ethic. I think that's incredible, and there's a lot of humility that comes across. In I just feel like you're a genuine person, and easy to connect with, and so I know that those are skills that you've developed. Do you have any like advice on maybe some of that, some of the soft skills, or some of the like, I don't know, just that I don't know what you want to call that, but just the behind the scenes, the gears inside that are helping you, accomplish all this.
Well, first of all, thank you for that. As far as the humility, I don't know. To me, this all seems, we talked about luck in the beginning, and it all kind of seems like that to me. Cause like I didn't, for the first 35 years of my life, I didn't have, not that I had it bad, but I wasn't like excelling. So I guess I still think like I did then. So I guess that's why. But, and you say I do all this stuff myself, and I appreciate that it looks that way, but I have a fantastic team. We talked about teams, but I have
Yeah.
a fantastic team that executes it. I often joke that I'm like, the Colonel Sanders of our company, because now I'm just like the face on the sign and as opposed to the person running it. So sorry, I forgot what your actual question was.
No, it's all good. I was just kind of curious as to, you know, uh, just the soft skills that you've developed and like how you've approached that to become who you are.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of it, I think like learning to run a team was kind of the example of one of the things. And I had no real experience with that. So you just have to figure out one at a time and just try to do the right thing and make the right decision. Reading and helps a lot. I've mentioned a couple of books already. Books, courses. People, including myself in this very interview, like tend to dunk on courses, but courses, there's a lot you can learn there. Constantly learning and getting better at things. Physically taking care of yourself helps a lot too. As weird as that sounds. Like I've spent a lot of time and money getting better at sleeping, and it's made me a much better decision maker. um, Little things like that. I know it's probably not what you were expecting, but that helps you make better decisions and get better at all the other things. So stuff like that. What else? Just constantly trying to be better, I think, is the thing. A lot of entrepreneurs, particularly internet entrepreneurs, have um, a big opinion of themselves, and trying to stay humble and realizing you can always get better will make you better at all the things, including the things that you're not trying to get better at. It'll just make you sort of a renaissance man, and kind of just grow you as a person, which will help you grow as a business too. I know that's a bit woo woo, but I think that's the best answer I can give to that.
No, that's the perfect answer, and I really appreciate all that because just from my experience, humility is such an important piece of continuing to progress yourself. But it plays such a vital role in being able to really connect with people and not come off as this
Mm.
big-headed egotistical person that because I'm sure you're making really good money with your company, right? And that can go to someone's head. That can affect
Yeah,
the way that they're perceived. And so I just appreciate when people like you are very grounded still,
yeah,
and still approachable. And I think that's
yeah.
obviously plays a role in being able to build communities and connect with people on things like live streams. So I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I
Well,
think
here.
that social media has influenced the other side of that a little too much. Like, the Lamborghinis and the big houses and the parties with women and stuff like that. I think a lot of people feel like they have to do that when they get successful. And I think that they do enough of that kind of stuff that they start to believe their own hype. Or they don't have that stuff, and they're just faking it to begin with, which we know happens. But I think that's a bad influence that people need to try to stay away from. In fact, my partner and I have a running gag when some of the dumb shit. Again, I swear a lot. I'm trying not to, but some of the
You're doing
dumb.
great.
Okay, thank you. Some of the dumb stuff that happens in business, where a tax problem or the boring stuff that we all have to deal with comes up. We say, "Man, they never told us about this on Instagram." So that's kind of the point of that, is that just try not to be those guys because they're awful. So
Oh, I love that. I love that. I think that's solid advice that we need to hear more of because it is so easy to fall into those tropes, right? And so,
well, the
um,
problem is that stuff works too, at least to sell things, which
right,
that's somewhat on the people that buy them too. But that's whatever. The default doesn't matter, I guess.
right. They're essentially selling, yeah, a lifestyle, and it's
Yeah,
just too bad because that's not what it should be about, right?
exactly.
Um, but I want to talk about real quick. Because we're about coming up on our time. I want to talk about, just as the founder CEO of Legit, um, sounds like it's doing really well, but there's always kind of the next thing, right? Or there's always somewhere you want to go, another target that you want to hit. So what is that for you? And how do you go about setting new targets?
I'm glad you asked that. We have a gigantic goal and we want to connect every business on earth to our platform. So that's how we inform our decisions. So that's like our ultimate goal. Now, is that possible? Probably not. But having that long-term goal of that makes us make better decisions, because otherwise, if you don't have a goal that like that, you're just going to try to make more money than last month, which, is fine if you just want to make money, but I want to build a great business. So that's our goal. And that's how we inform all of our decisions. So rather than do something where I could do this promotion with this guy and make, a few extra $1,000 and then we'd have our best quarter ever. Instead, I'll spend that time building a new feature into the platform that will help a business owner, which will get us somebody that'll get us closer to our goal or something like that. So that's not a perfect example, but that's kind of the thing. And I think a lot of businesses miss that, particularly like internet marketing businesses miss that, is having a goal other than just making money. Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting to make more money. Like, I feel like we demonize that a little bit too much. But if you want to do something, you want to have security, one of the things you need to do is to have as big a business as possible, because it makes it harder for a pandemic to come along and shut you off overnight. But it also, if you want to do, spiritual is not really the right word, but that's what the word I'm going to use. If you want to take the spiritual side of business and do something that really matters to the world, then you need to have a long-term vision and a long-term goal. Even if it's impossible to get to, it's going to drive you to get closer to it. So even if we get, 3% of the businesses in the world or whatever, that's still further than we would have gotten just doing month to month to month things. So having that vision and that goal, and it helps everything we do. And it seems to motivate our team as well. Like, we have a couple of different slogans we use that help motivate them, and that's what I tell them when they come across a decision where they don't know what to do. Ask the question, does it get us closer to that goal? If the answer is yes, then go that way. If the answer is no, then go that way. So I think that answers your question. I hope.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that. I'm of the same mindset. Just having, there's a quote, I think it's actually from scripture, but where there is no vision, the people perish. And I think that's so true in companies. Like you said, motivating people, it helps to make a clear target, I guess, of where you're trying to go, and if it's something that people can really believe in and get behind, right? Because they believe in that concept, that's powerful. It's a powerful way to run your business, and so I really appreciate you bringing that up. I think that's great.
Yeah, like Steve Jobs as kind of one of my business role models. And he didn't just want to build like cool phones and MP3 players. He said he wanted to put a dent in the universe. And that was how he motivated teams. And we have a similar philosophy to that.
Very cool. Yeah, very cool. We're about up on our time. Where can people go to connect with you?
Well, if you have a business, we'd love to have you on Legit. Whether you are a freelancer or a business looking to grow, we can help you out. So check that out at Legit with 2 eyes, because 1 eye wasn't enough. The real story is that the legit.com was worth what's like 300 grand. But or you can find me personally on YouTube or on Facebook. Those are my 2 most active platforms. Just search Chris M. Walker so you don't end up with a jazz singer from the 90s.
I love that. We'll have links to all of that in the show notes. So if you're listening, go there to connect with Chris. This has been such a fun conversation. You've brought so much value to our audience. I know that they're going to get a ton out of it. What is your final message to anyone listening out there?
Figure out what your long-term goal is and do everything that you can to get to it. Think big. Don't just think about next month. Think big is our company slogan. And that's why, is we want you to think as big as you possibly can to achieve as much as you can, because when you do that, you help as many people as you can. And that's will always come back to you as well.
I love that. That's a perfect way to end. Thank you so much for being here, Chris. For anyone listening out there, make sure you're subscribed and you share this with others. That really helps us out a lot. Thanks again for being here, and we'll catch everyone in the next episode.
Thank you.